This week on the Music Biz Weekly podcast, it's not about collecting numbers, especially when it comes to an email newsletter, email list. It's about how engaged are those numbers with your email list. Otherwise, that email list has zero value. If there's no engagement, no click-throughs, no open rates, I don't care if it's 100,000 email addresses you got, it's worthless. We talk all about how to make it worth something.
Welcome to the Music Biz Weekly podcast, celebrating over 15 years and over 600 weekly episodes, where Michael Brandvold and Blasco, two longtime music industry pros, discuss the very latest trends, tools and tactics that you need to succeed in this new music business.
The Music Biz Weekly podcast has moved to a brand new YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss future episodes. Visit www.musicbizweeklypodcast.com, subscribe on YouTube, follow and rate us on Spotify, subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. We appreciate your support.
Hey, Music Biz Weekly podcast. You got Mike, you got Blasco. We're back. Real quick, just a quick shout out to everybody at Hypebot and Bandsintown for all your continued support. And I don't know if you saw this, Blasco, but literally I just got an email this morning from Bandsintown. They've launched what they call a boost feature on tour dates. So, they've always had, you can go in and do that whole generate an email as a promoter type of thing. And great targeting. I mean, it's a great service. Well, this is, you can pick like one show, click the boost button, almost like they just pick that idea up off of a Facebook post, spend $50, and it boosts the exposure across the Bandsintown network, their homepage, their app, and emails. So it'll be interesting to play with that and see where that goes and how that gets adopted, and what's the spend that you have to do in it. Because I know, like, when you use that promoter tool, kind of got to be prepared to spend a minimum of $500 if you want to do anything.
Yeah.
I think this boost tool you can get by for like $50. So it might be interesting for smaller artists. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on that and talk to everybody about it as it develops here. A couple of weeks ago, Blasco, you made a post on your LinkedIn a week ago, actually. And I'll read through it real quick, because when I read it, I was like, boom, I got thoughts on this. So it starts out with, you are a collector, not an owner. A 10,000 person mailing list sounds impressive until you realize the average click-through rate is often 1 to 3%. A 10,000 K mailing list with a 1% click-through is the digital equivalent of throwing a huge party where 9,900 people eat your food, drink your booze, and leave before helping you take out the trash and wash the dishes. Attention does not equal action. Subscription does not equal loyalty. Reach does not equal influence. And owned audience has become one of the most romanticized ideas in modern marketing, because the raw subscriber number creates the illusion of power. But the metric that matters is not how many people are subscribed, it's how many people change their behavior when asked to do so. That's the real audience. The problem is that, and I love this one line, the problem is that newsletters are built like announcements rather than emotional connection. They function like, hey guys, here's the thing, instead of, this matters to you because. Stop treating the audience like a database. Give the audience identity, not information. Information gets ignored. Identity gets defended. People click through when the action reinforces that identity. The real asset is not the list. The real asset is your influence, because if your owned audience disappears the second you ask them to do something, then you never owned their attention in the first place. You must have a collection of spectators. I love this because, first of all, it's all about email newsletters. And before we hit record, I was saying, like, email newsletters are the least sexy thing to talk about. They've been around for decades, but for good reason, because they've got great value. Um, but you hit an important point. It's not about collecting numbers. It's not just about being able to say, I've got a 10,000 person email list. It's
Mhm.
what do you do and how do you use that email list? And I'll give you my first thought that popped into my head, and you tell me what you think. I have seen so many artists build email lists and then absolutely never use them. And then if they do use them, it's simply as a buy tool. I'm going to email you direct and say, click here to buy my new album. And that's it. There's, I don't know why. Why do people think an email newsletter has to be all about buy, buy, buy? Watch this video. I mean, we've talked about this so much where it's like that doesn't work on your social media posts. It's not going to work on an email blast. Your email, and this is what you kind of get into here, is your email could have one call to action in it, but how come the rest of the email isn't just filled with non-selling content? Check out this cool backstage photo. Check out us hanging out with fans. Check this out. You know, why does it always have to be sell, sell, sell?
Yeah, man. I mean, my inspiration on that post was just the consistent chatter that I see about owned audience, which is kind of dicey language, really, to begin with.
Yeah.
But whatever, I understand the premise of it. But it feels like there's a lot of effort with not a whole lot of return. So I kind of challenge the idea of just the general importance of it. I'm not saying that it's not important, and I'm not challenging it as a concept or something that I think should be ignored. I'm not. But I think the point of it is that if the average click-through rate is 1%, the CTR, the acronym of importance, if is 1 to 3% on average, man, that there's a huge discrepancy in the amount of people that I have versus the amount of people that care about what I'm sending
are doing something.
Right. So I'll give you an example. It like because you just to kind of touch on a few points here. One, the transactional nature of it that you're touching on is that it's one thing if you're subscribed to Home Depot's newsletter, right?
Yeah.
Your anticipation is you're going to be sold to. Like
yeah. It's a company that's all about products. That's it.
Right. But if you're subscribed to a band, an artist, singer, songwriter, right? If you're subscribed to someone that makes art and all you're getting is transactional sales communication, it's kind of irritating, right? And it's also not my expectation. My expectation of subscribing to an artist is that there would be some level of artistic communication. But if it's just selling, then it sort of justifies the low kind of click-through rate because my level of interest is so small. So let me give you a practical example. It was last year, and it was Mental Health Awareness Month, which I don't remember what month that is, May or something. But it was Mental Health Awareness Month. And Black Veil Brides has a large contingent of people that would fall into the category of needing some type or accepting some type of mental health issues. Maybe not all the time. Maybe it's just part of the time sometimes, but they're people that are a little bit on the fringe here and they experience things like bullying and criticism and things of that nature, right? Things
Yep.
that would drive you to be, being aware of your mental health. And so we know that, and we're aware of that. And Andy, the singer, is a very well written, very well spoken, very eloquent human being, and is very in tune with his audience. So I suggested, hey, man, why don't you write a letter to the fans that we can send via email, our email news blast? And why don't you just talk about Mental Health Awareness Month, your experience with being bullied, right? Your experience
Mhm.
of being criticized, your level of hatred that has come by being in this band and being someone that's willing to, at 17 years old, walk around with crazy hair and crazy makeup and, look, sort of unacceptable to the status quo. And he did. And it was a great piece, right? It was a really touching piece. And we sent it via email to the subscriber list, and there was no call to action button. We were selling nothing. We were communicating, right? It was just an artist communication to the fan. And what we got in what we received was a 90% open rate on that email.
Wow.
And a 10% open rate is pretty spectacular, right?
Yeah.
20% is out of the ordinary. But and we got a 90% open rate. And like I said, there was no call to action. There was no button that you had to click to go buy a t-shirt or any of that crap. And it just kind of tells you that when the expectation is met of what I'm subscribing to, then it justifies the existence of something like an email list, right? But if you're just focused on the transactional part of it, like I always say, man, less transaction, more interaction. And that goes across the board. Social media, digital marketing, whatever it is, less transaction, more interaction. So the last point I'll touch on what you were saying is that why do people that start a mailing list get sort of disinterested in it? My hypothesis is because there's no immediate return, right? Like if you post something on Instagram, you're getting likes, you're getting comments,
Immediate
right?
feedback.
Like immediate feedback. But like on an email, like you have to kind of wait around. You have to look at the analytics. If you've got like a CRM person, you have to wait till they give you your weekly assessment, right? It's a thing that there's no instant gratification. And
Yeah.
I feel like that is the thing that loses the interest. Also, too, if you are strictly using it for transactional, and then you're looking at what did our e-com store do from the email, you're like, oh wow, that only contributed to 10% of the sales. So it's like, it's not an exciting thing if you're using it for the wrong thing, I guess. So
it's also something that, for the most part, you have to sit down and think about and put work into doing a newsletter. Yeah, there's systems out there that become easier and easier, but it's not like Instagram where you just take a photo, post a photo, and walk away 20 seconds later and you're all done. Putting together a newsletter can take hours to do a good quality newsletter and get it prepared, get it sent out. And so you're right. That's the unsexy part of it. It's always been that way. And I don't know if it's ever going to change from that.
Fair point. It does feel like work, and work is not fun for artists.
Yeah. It's sort of like, well, gee, if I got to sit down and spend an hour putting together a newsletter, I could be on Instagram hanging around and chatting and liking and scrolling, and that's more fun, and that gives you instant feedback. It pumps your adrenaline, whatever. I mean, you get a rush from that. Um, I've always felt as well that, and I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, whether it's online stores, bands, or whatever. I always want to see what other people do and how they're doing it. And back to one of the first points I made is I can't tell you how many bands I've subscribed to that have never sent me a newsletter. And I will tell people, I'm like, if you're never going to send a newsletter out, just admit that up front. And let's take the sign up off, because it's a bad image to tell fans join my newsletter and then never do anything with it. What a waste of space on your website. What a waste of everything. So first of all, that if you're not going to use it, just get rid of it. It's not going to insult anybody. Just get rid of it. But if you do have one, you've got to use it. But here's where you're 100% right on. It can't be all transactional. And I agree. I go by a philosophy of follow the 80-20 rule. Everything you do online, 80% should not be about transaction and selling. 80% should be entertaining, educational, informing, whatever. 20% can be about sell, buy, watch, follow, whatever. And to take that 20% and just duplicate it into an email newsletter, what's the point of me joining your newsletter then? I'm seeing all of that right here on Facebook or Instagram or wherever. I'm getting no benefit, because you got to think, I think people need to think of it this way. Somebody is choosing to give you their email address. That's a bit personal, okay? They've basically opened up and said, I like you, care about you, connect with you enough. You know what? I'm going to give you my email address. I'd like to personally hear from you in my inbox. Or, a lot of cases nowadays, my cell phone number, text me. Well, that shouldn't just be a transactional event that from that point forward. I have no issues if an email has a reminder somewhere at the bottom. Don't forget our new album's out, or don't forget we've got tour dates. But if the rest of that email is identical to everything that's already available online, there is literally no value to the fan. None whatsoever. And that's the quickest way to get. First of all, I think the flow will be they'll stop opening your emails. So you're going to see your open rates start to drop. And eventually they'll get to the point of like, oh, I'm sick of just deleting these emails every week or once a month when they come in. I'm going to finally find the unsubscribe button and unsubscribe. And believe me, once they've unsubscribed, you're going to have a really difficult time to get them to ever subscribe again, because you kind of burned that relationship. I feel like an email can almost be looked at and treated like a free fan club. It's a free tier of your fan club. Maybe you've got a paid fan club. Maybe you don't have anything, but treat it like a fan club. And what do we as fans expect when you join a fan club? Oh, we kind of want to see some cool inside exclusive content every once in a while that we don't see online, that the rest of the fans don't get to see because they're not part of this little club we joined. So use your email newsletter to share some photos that you aren't going to post to Instagram, a video shout out that isn't going to go up onto YouTube or TikTok or the Reels. Treat them with a little exclusivity, access through that newsletter. And that's where I guarantee you, that's where you're going to see a growth in your open rates You're going to see a growth in the whatever form of engagement you've got in that newsletter, because they're going to be excited to see what's coming this month. There's no excitement in going, oh my God, I can't wait to see what album they're trying to ask me to buy this month. There's no fan is excited to hear about what you want them to buy, especially a diehard fan. And let's be honest, I could be wrong, but I think it's a safe bet to say anybody who joins your email list is probably on at least on the brink of a diehard fan status, or clearly diehard. A casual fan who just discovered you, they're not going to be giving you an email address. They're not joining your list.
No.
These are the fans who've been with you from day one, who are really deeply committed to you. So don't, and we've talked about this when it comes to like treating, super fans. Don't treat your email list as just another potential revenue stream of how much money can I siphon out of this channel, because that channel is going to dry up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just back up a second, just to reiterate your point, is that someone that is willing to give you their email address or their telephone number is like them giving you the keys to the front door of their house.
I'm allowing you to literally reach out and personally contact me, interrupt what I'm doing.
Right. And so if I'm willing to do that, then it also justifies your point that this is a super fan. This is not a passive fan. Yep. And if that, in fact, is a fact, then you should treat these people like super fans, not like passive fans. And I think that's just a rule, right? In terms of the value of having an email list and treating a list of people that gave you access to themselves with value, right? I think that's highly important. I don't know that people visualize it like that. I think it comes down to my point of it is that if you're just collecting, then you're just a collector.
Yeah.
Right. And if my number is my number, but you're not embracing that relationship, right? You're doing nothing with that relationship, then yeah, man, like you just got this number on your mantle, but it doesn't help you in any way, So like the independent artists that listen to this show and absorb the information, this is really an important one to think about, because, you kind of hear so much about the importance of owning your audience and getting away from the algorithm. And these are the only people that you can rely on, because if Instagram disappeared, then what are you left with? Because they own your audience on those platforms, own your audiences on those platforms. And so this is the only sense of kind of real connectivity. But if you're not building the connectivity to the collection,
zero value,
then it has no value. And if for the unlikely event that all the social media evaporated one day and all you were left with was an email list of people that you don't know how to communicate with, then you really effectively also still have nothing.
Yeah. There's nothing worse as a marketing person when I'm working with a band of any level, and it's like, oh, you've got an email list. Well, let's get some news out on this. And you realize either they've never used it, or the last time they used it was 18 months ago. And listen, as anybody who's got experience in the email world, you're going, oh, this is a dirty list. This is going to be a messy list. And what does that mean? Well, that means maybe you got 10,000 people on that list, but now that you're finally using it, maybe half of those email addresses are invalid now. I mean, it's not unheard of. They're bounced, they're dead. you basically have to spend time cleaning that email list to get the dead emails out of there, and get it to the point where you can actually have a list that's valuable and engaging. And that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen in one email going out. You, to your point, if all of a sudden you need to use that email list, even if you do end up using it, it might be pretty much useless because it's such a bad quality list at this point. And
Yeah.
and now it's like, all right, you put the work in, as we talked about early on, and you literally got nothing out of it except you go in and look and go, oh my God, there were 1,200 bounced emails and I got 300 spam complaints. Even though somebody signed up, they completely forgot they signed up 2 years ago and they hit the spam complaint.
Yeah. I mean, look, I understand the resistance of, I just want to make music. I don't want to be a content creator. I don't want to do trends on TikTok. I don't want to have to figure out all these digital platforms. I don't know what a fucking algorithm is because it changes on a daily basis. And I can't even begin to think of trying to navigate around that, right? There's all these roadblocks that are in front of an artist that just wants to fucking play some music and put it on the internet and try and find some people that enjoy it, right? I get it. I totally sympathize and empathize with that problem. However, you can do what you want to do and keep your expectations where they are. And there is a chance that it could work out because you're like, you know what? Fuck it, man. I'm an analog artist all the way. And that's my differentiator, right? Like when everybody else is.
That's my story.
Right. Whenever everybody else is just putting flyers on Instagram, I'm going down to the print shop. I'm making flyers and I got a stapler and I'm going to telephone poles in front of the club I'm playing and I'm stapling to the telephone poles and I'm hanging out in front and I'm handing out flyers and I'm being the analog guy. Fuck yeah, man. All day long. Be that person as opposed to just letting everything being frustrating, you know? But you know, my point of it is that these are the tools in front of us. And you either need to try and figure out a way to work with them or get them to work for you, or you have to create a strategy that doesn't use them and then amplify the anti-strategy of your strategy, right? That's kind of my general summary of this conversation of like, look, I feel your pain and you either adapt or you create. You know, you take your creativity and you market creatively as much as you make music creatively. And if you don't want to be a sheep that just does what everybody else does and hopes for the best and the algorithm runs your life, if you don't want to be that person, man, good, you shouldn't. But there also then needs to be an equal amount of effort then put into the anti-strategy.
Yeah, you know, as I said earlier, it's like, listen, if you just want to decide I'm never going to do a newsletter, it's not going to offend me as one of your team members if you say, you know what, let's take that newsletter sign up off. I'm never going to do that. I don't want that. Okay. I mean, I'll give you my recommendation not to do that, but you make the decision. I can live with that. End of day. Story's over. But what I don't want to hear then is 3 months later, when something goes wonky on Instagram and all of a sudden you've lost your account and you have no way to communicate to people and you're like, how am I supposed to do this? What can we do? And it's like, well, that's what this was for.
Mm-hmm.
So embrace it. But you also have to understand the consequences of what that could mean by embracing it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, maybe that's what comes down to a record label signing you or not. Do you have an active email list of fans that we can message? No? Well, that's kind of important to us because as a label, we are about selling you. We are about selling music. Or a tour promoter. We are only about selling tickets. That's it. And if you have no way to help us sell tickets, maybe you don't get the third spot on that tour. There could be consequences. So I'm just saying, fine, embrace it, accept it, do what you want, but understand all decisions have consequences. And as the marketing person, I don't want to be called into a Zoom meeting going, how did you let this happen? It's like, not on me. I advised, I informed. You make the ultimate decision.
Yep. That's right, man. I mean, it's a challenge. And I feel it. I mean, I think to kind of continue on your point too, is that analytics are so important in this business when it comes to things like which band do we pick to be our opener? For instance, this is a thing that happens. And you're going on, you've got a band, it's a national or international band, it's going on tour. And let's say you're doing a show in Brighton. The band's on tour and they're playing in Brighton, UK. And then the agent, in communication with the promoter, will send over a few options for local bands to open the show, right? And because the promoter likes to use local bands on that because they're local and maybe they're worth a few tickets, and maybe there's a common thread between the music that they play and who the headliner is, and so we can put more people through the door and buy more beer and whatever. And so I'll get a list of links for bands, right? And it'll be like a YouTube, a Spotify, an Instagram, right? And there'll be like 3 or 4 bands to choose from. And admittedly, I will go on there and I will look at the analytic number and not listen to the music first. I'll look at the Instagram followers. I'll look at the Spotify monthlies, right? I'll look at all of those. And then I'll be like, oh, which one has the most? And then I'll listen to that one. And so it's a numbers game. I get it. And also to contribute to the unsexiness of the mailing list is that's not a number that anybody can see. And it's not a number that anyone gives a fuck about. When it comes to making a determination about the value of your band, right, on what is visible to the business side of things, that's not an accessible number. So I get it that you're like, man, this is a real struggle to convince me that this is of a worth my time if you're an artist, right? I get it. And I can't even make a strong argument other than like, well, maybe figure out a way to do it that isn't too time consuming. Maybe hire a third party to help you out with it or whatever. Because as much as maybe it appears that it's not critical, I still do believe that there is some sense of importance to just build the general wide range of people in every facet that you can have access to in whatever format that is.
I completely agree. I'll support that. With pre-pandemic, when I was booking a rock club up here in Northern California, an artist would send a pitch, hey, can we get a show? And just like you, first thing I did was not listen to their music. I had a little 1-page sheet in my Apple Notes, and I went online and I'm like, okay, first of all, Do they even have profiles on all the social networks? Do they even have a website? Are they even on Bands in Town? Yes, 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 yes. Okay. What are the numbers? Okay. Numbers, 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 numbers. Now, what, in a 10-second glance, what is the frequency of posting in the engagement? They last posted 18 months ago. Okay, well, it doesn't matter if you got 10,000 likes on your Facebook page, it's a dead page. Do you have an email sign up form on your website? To your point, we have no way to know how large that email list is. We have no idea if it's an active list. But if it comes down to two bands and one band has an email sign up and one band doesn't, and everything else is equal, I will go with the one that's got an email sign up because it gives me a little bit more comfort knowing maybe there's a potential outreach to fans that this band can do. The other thing that I would do is go on Bands in Town, and I would do a fake promoter ad. And I'd put the band in and I'd go, okay, show me how many fans they have within a 200-mile radius of my venue. Because, maybe they've got 40,000 followers on Bands in Town. But doing that promoter ad, I can put in my city and go, how many fans in that radius? Ooh, there's only 20. It's like, ooh, that's not good. Are these guys bigger somewhere else? So to your point, it is a real factor that comes into play these days. It is. And after all that's said and done, okay, then do I like the music? Did I like the music of the band that wants to book a show? Sure, I did. Great. I mean, to me, the music is the easiest issue to deal with. Either it's good, not good. But I mean, I can tell you, we've booked some not the greatest bands, but they had great fan outreach ability that they could basically sell out the venue and empty every keg that night. And at that point in time, we're like, I don't give a crap if they're terrible on stage. Mm-hmm. We sold every beer we had available to us tonight. You're coming back. We'll let you come back. You could be a name band that doesn't have all of that and only sold half our concessions. And we're like, sorry, no, I don't think we're going to do another show with you.
Yep.
I mean, it's not what a musician likes to hear, but it's the reality of the world. If you're truly into the music business and making this your career, then you've got to understand the business that operates around you cares less about the music and more about, am I going to make money? Am I going to lose money aligning myself with these guys for a show? Mm-hmm. Or a label signing you? Do I have the ability to even consider printing up 1,000 CDs and selling them? Or you guys don't even have social media. Why would I even consider giving you a deal with physical product? Because we're going to get stuck with this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be unrecouped, and you're never going to pay it back. And we lost.
Yeah.
So it is an important factor, in my opinion. But as we talked about earlier, don't think it's just about the number that matters. It's about the quality of your list. It's about what you do with that list. It's how you use that list. If you use your list right and start to understand your fans, you could reasonably expect 25% open rates, 30% open rates. Click-throughs are a completely different thing. Click-through is another whole level of commitment engagement by the fan. Mm-hmm. But click-throughs don't matter if you can't ever get them to even open the email.
That's right.
I mean, if you don't
Yeah.
open the email, it doesn't matter how great that content is. And and I'll just close that with, that's why the subject line is so frickin' important.
Mm-hmm.
That subject line is what's going to tell me as a fan, do I open this right now? Or do I sit on it and go, oh, you know what, I'll check it out on this coming weekend. And then you forget about it. And then it gets, we all know, gets pushed down on your inbox and eventually out of sight. You completely forget about it. And 3 weeks later, you're cleaning your inbox and you see that email and you're like, oh, it's too late, delete.
Mm-hmm. That's right, man. Fun convo.
Yeah, this was good. This was good.
Yeah.
So don't collect numbers. And I think that's a safe statement to say about anything online that gives you numbers. It's not about collecting those numbers. It's about how engaged are those numbers with you.
Correct.
And I will end with, your most diehard fans know everything you've got for sale. They don't need to be beaten over the head every day, every week, every month to buy.
Mm-hmm.
I know to this day what KISS has for sale. So if I'm interested, I will go get it. If I'm interested a month from now, I will know and I'll go get it. So it's not about transactions all the time with your diehard fans.
It shouldn't be.
Can't be.
Yeah.
All right, that's it, people.
Good
Another
one.
quick shout out to Bruce and Jeremy over at Hypebot and Bands in Town. And that's it. Music Biz Weekly Podcast. We'll see everybody next week.
Every month, thousands of musicians and industry professionals listen to the Music Biz Weekly Podcast. If you have a product or service and would like to reach this audience, get in touch with Michael to discuss sponsorship opportunities.
Voices for the Music Biz Weekly Podcast provided by LarryDavisVoice.com.